I'm here with a gentleman named Jon Stewart. He is a namesake of the famous Jon Stewart. You can see by looking at him, not the same guy. This is a far more interesting man. We are here to talk about a film, a video that is one of the most controversial videos probably in the history of ufology. This is the famous alien interview video, recorded, we are told, in 1991, released in 1997. You're going to look at it here. But before we discuss it, Jon, let me welcome you to the program. How are you?
Yeah, Richard, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on here. You are, as I told you in our pre-interview, you sit on top of the mountain of ufologists who are highly, your experience and information and your knowledge is prized, and you are definitely one of the wise men on the hill, and I am truly honored to be here with you tonight to discuss
Thank you.
The experience of the alien interview.
Yes, let's get into that. I should let people know, Jon, you ran for Congress. You were a professional wrestler. Most people think that's a lot more cool than running for Congress, but they're both interesting. They're both cool. And you have just jumped in. You're jumping in out of nowhere into the deep end of ufology. You've been looking at this film seriously for about several years now?
Yeah, I saw this in 1997, Richard, at a time in my life where ufology and conspiracies were the farthest thing in the world. You know, I was a part-time pro wrestler, running for public office, running my family's automobile dealership, living downtown Chicago, dating this beautiful blonde woman who's actually my wife now of 25 years. And I see this 1997 shockumentary, so to speak, of an alien interview. I'm thinking it's going to be a bizarre looking human at the Pentagon handing a clipboard to the general. I'm not joking. The interview comes on 30 minutes into the documentary, and I just kind of reared back like, the spidey senses said, I know Hollywood. I've got a ton of friends in Hollywood and been in the entertainment industry. Something ain't right here. And I'm using broken English. The medics come in, the doctors come in without pressurized suits to really hype up the hoax. The gray alien is brown or tan. It doesn't have almond eyes. It has round eyes. And they have this whistleblower. I've never heard anyone to this day, and I've been around some brainiacs in my life. I've never heard anyone speak more intelligently and scientifically in my life. And it was Victor's vernacular. That I said to myself.
Victor's name of the whistleblower. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah, called himself Victor.
Yeah.
And he came to this second-tier video production company in 1996.
This is him.
That's him.
Yeah.
People think that's Bob Dean. I'm not jumping forward. They're like, oh, it's the same tie. I put out a video. It's two totally different ties. That's not Bob Dean.
Let's show can I show the clip? I've got part of the clip here.
Let's do it. Yeah.
It's like only 25 seconds. This is not the entire alien interview video, but this is toward the end, I believe. There's no sound. I'm just going to play it. We're going to watch it, and you can comment if you wish. This is toward the end here.
This is supposedly an animatronic doll. I want you to see all the movements. It does show the entire body. As an FX person wrote me 3 weeks ago, that being showed exasperation. We still can't do that. The mouth opening and closing instantaneously, folks. Remember the animatronic ride at Pirates of the Caribbean, the slow motion mouth. This mouth opens and closes. There's no servos around it. It's a grabber. It's a head scratcher. So Victor gets. Go ahead.
Walk us through this.
So Victor gets thrown out of basically the Fox studios in 1996 because they cannot guarantee his anonymity. So he goes over to a newsstand on Cayuga Boulevard, opens up Variety magazine, sees a video production company's ad for a humorous golf video, like a Rodney Dangerfield humorous golf video. And he figures, like a lot of people figure, hey, look, maybe I can get in with this company. Maybe this company isn't so high profile that they'll take a chance on this. So Victor calls the production facility. Jeff Broadstreet, an in-house director for Rocket, says, yeah, I'll take a look at it, sure. And he takes a taxi to the studio. He does not drive, okay? This is really important. He's a retired, says he's a retired scientist with the government, drops off and gives them this 3-minute VHS tape that is bluish. The screen with the video, I'm sure we've got that eventually, is a bluish hue. It's inconclusive at best, but they vet him. He leaves the office. Jeff Broadstreet, the director, spends 2 weeks vetting Victor. So says an intelligence insider. And I want to stop here to say, if Victor was an actor, why would the director vet him? Look up to see if he was, he was a government employee. If he was an actor, why would the director spend 2 weeks doing this? And the director, who I have become friends with, has said, yes, I looked him up. I wasn't going to just put anybody that said who they said they were. The director said he was a tremendous pain in the ass, excuse me for lying. He was very difficult to deal with, and he did not drive, and he appeared that his life at that point was a little off grid. Back in 97, that wasn't a big thing to live off grid. And the director, Jeff Broadstreet, made special mention of that. And I want to bring this up, Richard, because for 25 years, I have heard and have been told by Hollywood, the government, and ufologists, oh, this is simple. You prove who Victor is, well, you prove the tape. If Victor's an actor, well, of course, the tape is a hoax. If you prove he's a government employee, you basically have proven the provenance that this was filmed by the government.
Mhm.
And what is a government employee on a pension walking around with a 90 to 110, 15, $115,000 production? That's the doll, that's the cast, the
Okay.
the studio, the craft catering, wardrobe, you name it. And then only get $40,000 from Rocket Pictures. Where is the benefit of doing
Okay.
this, of
Right,
creating
right.
this hoax? So I focused on that bizarre physiological monitor, which again, I checked
Now,
myself. I still
can you
don't know.
help me
We don't
find
still
that
don't know
one?
what this is. Yeah.
I've got a bunch of images that you have sent me, and
Well, about like image 7 or 8, you'll see there it is. The
okay,
blip only goes up and down. It appeared to only be a pane of glass held up by 2 brackets.
the top
Yes.
that white.
The lower right, the green, it's showing the blip going up and coming back down.
I see.
And
Okay.
it's got this thick green hue, which we tried to replicate. Again, folks, trying to find the truth, which meant I approached this as a hoax. This is how you do it in science. You approach something as it's not true, and then you prove it true. So my daughter and I took a pane of glass. We started bouncing a modern laser on it. It didn't have the thickness, the brightness. It shone through the other side. But an FX person said, yeah, it could have been a pane of glass, a laser on a servo. So I am in my car. Thank God for the internet. I email and I get a response from the 3 PhDs candidates doing the history of physiological monitors, acting like a journalist, right? I send them the video, and in 10 minutes, I get an email back. Mr. Stewart, we have no idea what we're looking at. We don't know why the blip stays stationary and just goes up and down. It looks like just a pane of glass. Yes, we're the experts of the history of monitors. We don't know what this is. That wasn't good enough for me. I found out that Space Labs and Hewlett-Packard made monitors in the 80s and 90s when this film supposedly took place.
Mhm.
I got an email from Hewlett-Packard, their engineering department, physiological engineering department, stating the same thing as the PhD candidates. We have no idea what this is. I get an old crusty engineer in the physiological research department on the phone at Space Labs. It goes into the movie realm. Rusty old guy. I sent him the video. He calls me back, calling me kid, because I have no idea what I'm looking at. I'm like, how long have you been developing monitors? He said, I did it for NASA, the Apollo program in the 60s. I've been doing this for 40 years. I've never seen this. I'm thinking a second-tier video production company has created the most high-tech monitor known to man? Really? I said, have you seen this at a trade show, on a drawing board, in a conference room? Conception of it. He said, no, I have never seen this. Richard, my right hand to God. He said, that might be a one-off. I'm like, okay, what is a one-off? He said, in science, if you're trying to prove something and you can't, you're having difficulty, you would devise and build a one-off device to help you solve a problem. And he said, if you're telling me this came from a government facility and a government-run facility, this might be something that the government developed specially for this application. And he said, what? Just tell me, because I didn't send him the alien. I cropped it. He had no idea this was the alien in the background. I said, well, this is a monitor that was supposedly monitoring bizarre biology of a heart lungs organ of an
Uh-huh.
off-planet being. Richard, he didn't laugh, he didn't hang up, he didn't chuckle. He said, "Oh yeah, yeah, if that's what I had to do, I'd make a one-off too, because a human physiological monitor is probably not going to monitor some kind of bizarre organ that you just described." I'm doing
Well, I
the
mean, it actually makes sense.
It does, yes,
And this is the close up of it.
right. But you
And
have a better picture of it that I hope you'll show later where it's bracketed.
I do.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, I'm gonna
You
get some
sent
of
me
that.
a
Hold on one.
bunch.
There it is, folks. This is the first bombshell.
Okay.
So FX people who I contacted. Now, people, if I was trying to prove this was real and I wasn't being legitimate, I would have contacted FX people that could have, shown me that this might have been a hoax. They all said it's a pane of glass, the blazers being pointed on it. Bill Mums, who was hired by National Geographic, to do the Patterson Gimlin film analysis, I hired him to do a first level dive on this. This is what he found, that this was not a pane of glass, that this was an actual medical device bracketed by metal with electronics and whatever behind the glass. We're not sure that this was a cathode ray tube. No one, including heart surgeons, thoracic surgeons that we spoke with, have any idea why the blip would stay still and just bounce up and down. We had EMTs and thoracic surgeons tell us that the erratic blip coincided with the creature's respiratory issue when it started to medically flag. On the circle of red is a protrusion that looks like a bullet casing, the end of a Civil War cartridge, a bullet
Hmm.
casing.
Okay.
And it's funny because an engineer said, if you are hoaxing this, okay, so you put metal around the monitor, big deal. Why would you mold something in the shape of a bullet cartridge that would take time and effort, and that had to be molded to hold some sort of electronic or some sort of device that was crucial to this monitor. And nobody thought that this would have been molded into that fashion. I'm not splitting hairs here,
Hmm.
for a hoaxed video on a blackened monitor that you weren't going to see for 30 years by a second tier production company. It just
Okay.
doesn't fit the
Interesting.
the narrative of a hoax.
And by the way, you mentioned the guy who
Yes,
did an analysis of that. You mentioned the Patterson film. For anyone who caught that, they're thinking, "Oh, that's the Bigfoot. That's the famous Bigfoot video."
correct.
So a man who did that analysis,
Hired by National Geographic. So,
right, also studied this film for you,
correct. He studied it to the amount of money that I could afford to give him.
right? But
Which is one
he
more
did
thing I
that.
want to
Yeah.
tell people right off the bat. I'm into this for $20,000. I don't Patreon. I don't ask for PayPal. I don't ask you to like, click, or to subscribe. I want to keep this as pure as possible. And there's nothing wrong with people making. Eventually, I'll probably make money on YouTube too. But I just wanted to keep this research pure journalistic
Great.
integrity. And so I want people to remember that I'm into this for $20,000 of my money about. So, and he was very expensive, this videographer, and he was a special effects person. May I please tell your audience what he said? John,
Yeah.
of course I can't say 100% it's real. I don't have the animatronic doll or the bean in formaldehyde, but something is a head scratcher. I've been doing this since the late 50s. Every single foam, doll, animatronic puppet has creases under the armpit, which happen because during the drying process, the arms have to come down towards the body and it creates a crease. And I did and he said, your alien being does not possess the creases of an animatronic foam latex doll. And I don't know how second tier video production company in 96 would have possibly have done that.
Mm.
So the guy from that National Geographic hired. Again, I'm not selling this. I'm simply telling you what was told to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I'm like, wow. Video guy says, head scratcher. Engineers say, never seen this monitor before. And doctors are saying it's working in conjunction with the beans coughing in distress. Again, I do wrap ups. Would a second tier production company have this ability? The most high tech animatronic doll ever, the most high tech physiological monitor coinciding with the beans coughing. Is that realistic? Or is that more of a head scratcher? I think it's more of a head scratcher. Many ufologists over the past 50 years, when they bring out a certain subject matter, a book, a video, radio, they get contacted by people, insiders, looking to use them as a conduit or a
Mhm.
talking head to disseminate information. And I went on the Jeff Rense program, who has got one of the biggest alternative news websites in the world. And 2 days before I went on, after talking with the producer, I'm going to expose this alien video, talk about the monitor. All of my emails on my phone get wiped. My read but not deleted emails. I'm not saying who did it, just telling you what happened. So I go on the Jeff Rense program. 2 weeks after the Jeff Rense program, I get an email from a person who, I caught your interview on the Jeff Rense program. You got some things right. You got some things wrong. You look sincere. I've been involved in the programs you talked about. If I can, this is verbatim, if I can give your investigation a nudge, I will certainly do that. You seem like a decent person. He would email me once a month over the course of 9 or 10 months. And he would give me little random tidbits. He would ask me things. This was a vetting process, I later found out. And coincidentally, and I asked him about the alien video, of course, was it VHS, 16 millimeter? Because that was being batted around. Who else was there? Tell me about the telepath program. What kind of being was this? On my birthday, I get an email from the horse's mouth. I want to be very specific here because this is important, Richard, to you and to your listeners. He had forwarded me an email from a person, I believe, who was in the DIA, Defense Intelligence Agency, who we have found out has run the alien interrogation retention program since the 60s when they took it over from the Air Force and the CIA. That's a fact. And he sent me this. Now, I was not looking at a DIA document. I was obviously looking at a man retyping the information from a report in the DIA about this, and they didn't call it a theft, a smuggled film. They called it an unauthorized viewing. Very militarist. I could never, if I was hoaxing this or what I'm telling you was a lie, I could never think of that. An unauthorized viewing in this internal briefing from the DIA sent to me by someone who worked with the DIA years back. He must have, from his contact. It said basically the time, date, who was in the viewing gallery watching this, which is called a thought projection interview, the facility that it was, what type of alien being ET this was, how the film was smuggled out of this top secret facility. And it wasn't S4, as Victor said. It was a facility called S2 Alpha. And we have the satellite photo of it. S2 Alpha.
That's it.
That is the entrance to the alien housing complex, S2 Alpha, the S2 Annex. Folks, no one in ufology is going to bring you this. I have brought you this. You go down that ramp, you turn to the left, a guard comes out, he hooks up an exhaust to your car, you go in and exchange badges. Now beneath S2 Alpha is the AHC, the Alien Housing Complex. Not telling you that I have been there and I can validate the veracity of this. The Alien Housing Complex, this is where extraterrestrials were held, were retained for Project Aquarius, which was the Alien Retention and Interrogation Program. That was the unofficial name of those in the program, the Alien Interrogation and Retention Program. Let me quickly go over the vetting of these. Were the military men, okay? Military men in the viewing ring gallery,
These people
watching
here.
this interview through the pane of glass. The first one was a colonel in the U.S. Army Intelligence. So I ran his name on Google Wikipedia. In 91 at the interview, he was a contractor for TRW also. So I remember calling a ufologist. I'm like, it's a hoax. I've proven it's a hoax.
Yeah, I just want to
He
jump
said,
in and just again emphasize, you and I did go over the actual names of these individuals. So
Right.
you have all or nearly all of the names of these individuals, well, except
Correct.
the bottom three, which are listed as unnamed.
Right.
And we actually did have fairly in-depth conversation about every one of the names that are here. And so you
I
do
hope
have
everyone's
interesting
listening
stories
to
about
this
that.
man up here. In-depth conversation on the names and
We did.
my whistleblower. Okay.
Yeah, it was a couple of days ago.
And now I go to the next guy. Doctor with the U.S. Army Medical Corps. Again, former pro wrestler. What's the medical corps? I don't know. To find him, there's nothing on the internet. This is a doctor who died in the 80s. This is the doctor to the beans right, our left, because keyboard warriors have made
Wait,
fun of me
died in
that I
the
don't get that
80s?
right.
Died
Pardon?
in the 80s, did you say? 1980s?
No, he died in his 80s,
Okay,
his
in his 80s.
age,
Okay.
in Northern California. This
Yeah.
is the doctor to the beans right, our left, as we're viewing. There's nothing on a medical doctor on the internet who died in let's say he was 83 years old. Not a hole in one at the golf course in the newspaper in 1960, not a marriage announcement, not the birth of a child, getting a special award. How does a medical doctor, I'm harking back to like people, like Bob Lazar who say, hey, they sheep dip people. They wipe your background. I'm just saying this is what was going through in my mind.
Mhm.
I find his widow, his second wife, his widow. Folks, I'm just telling you what happened. Please, I'm not trying to sell you. I call her up. She's in her 80s. Very nice lady. Let's call her Kim. This is embarrassing telling this woman in her 80s that her husband might have been involved in aliens. I would be more comfortable telling somebody their husband, was a cross-dresser. I can't think of anything more embarrassing to tell somebody or uncomfortable, but I had to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I said, Kim, I'm a documentarian. This has come across my desk. Is it possible that your husband, I used his nickname because they used his nickname in
Mhm.
his full name on the report, could have been involved with extraterrestrials at some point in his career? Pause. Again, like the engineer at Space Labs, didn't laugh, didn't hang up. John, that's very interesting. And a light bulb was going off in my head. Richard, I'm doing this like, what?
Mhm.
Wait, what?
Right, she wasn't
She's
blowing
like,
you off, in other words. She was,
exactly. She's like, a light
what?
bulb was going off in my head. And she goes, I want to tell you a story. Okay. An alien doctor's wife is telling me a story now. This is okay. I'm listening. She goes, John, we have a big group of friends when he was alive, the veterans from Korea, World War II, Vietnam. When we would always get together, most often all of them would tell humorous stories from boot camp, a humorous story of their drill sergeant or some non-combat related story of humor or interest. And I said, okay. And she said, but here's the interesting thing. My husband never, and I want to repeat, never spoke about his time in the U.S. Army Medical Corps. Now I went, wait a minute, you know, Army Medical Corps or U.S. Air Force Medical Corps. I, I didn't say that to her. How did she know what was on my list?
Ah,
So
she
here is
brought up the medical
someone,
corps.
this happened a lot. Here is someone out of the universe backing up a document from somebody else out of the universe, from the DIA.
Yeah.
And she said it was a source of contention. This is verbatim. It was a source of contention with my husband and I, why he was so mum and secretive. His friends would ask me behind his back, why does he never talk about his time in the medical corps, in the services? And she said, John, you're basically kind of giving me an answer to like a family secret. I mean, I was covering the
Mhm.
receiver. Like, she's like, can you send me the video? So I send her the video. She confirms that it's her husband to the beans, right, our left, with his pointed nose.
All right, do we have
She
an
goes, that's
image of
him.
that here? Is there an image that you sent
Yes,
me?
it's going to be right below that monitor picture.
This is
Yes.
34.
Okay. Let me tell you something, folks. You can say whatever you want about me, about this film, but I had an 80-something-year-old woman who said her husband was secretive and she fingered him in this video. So you can
This
say
man
whatever
here
you want.
pictured was her husband?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir, is her husband. So she goes, John, you seem like a nice fella. Let me give you my daughter's name and number. She lives in the south suburbs of Chicago by you. I'm waiting to get invited over for Thanksgiving at this point. I'm being glib, but I mean, that's how familiar like
Are
this
you going to be
conversation.
able to give this man's name up at some point, by the way?
I will on the documentary.
Well, that's it. I want to thank everyone for being with us. And as always, if you like this program, please do hit the like button. By all means, share it with others. And that's it. I want to thank you all. Catch you again soon. Until then, let us keep fighting the good fight. Later.